Training. Sige,
I think that might also be
Lahing
helpful
adlaw
for
sa
the audience,
Ganahan
particularly
gyud
early
ka,
career
manhi
scholars,
ka,
to
pero
know that
dili lang sa ayo lang
they
siguro
need to
nang
think about that
luto.
there is
Kay
hopefully some
total
room to
short time
negotiate
lang
in
man
terms
na
of
siya.
their voice and what they
Palit
want to
na sa
say
gawas kay na
versus
may mga
what's
karinderya kanang
expected
karinderya
and
gyud
what
nga
goes
ba
like
tulad.
trained to do in particular
Sige,
contexts.
dito na lang ko sa content ay 2 weeks na training yun. But training,
Ano sa 2 weeks
sige,
na
mag-time.
tama na
might
kay
also
sa
be
mga lahi na sa
ECRs are trained to add a recommendation section. So is that a sort of policy recommendation section? So here's my research. What does it mean for policy? Is that what?
Yeah. Just to give the context, Gunjan, if I may, just to give the context, Jonathan and Marla of our audience. Our audience mainly are from the hard-to-reach universities in the Philippines, so mostly from Mindanao, state universities around and really far away. It's hard to put it in term, but we can actually sort of putting it in a sort of geographical space,
kanirang mga taga
because they're
Davao
hard-to-reach universities, and this is really the subject of our outreach program. So most of them are back from those universities, and we have also universities around some participants from Vietnam and also in Cambodia, and as far as even some of the stakeholders that Gunjan,
kaning nasa for visa
reached out during their first project. And in terms of this recommendation that has been written there, mainly around in some parts of Southeast Asia and mainly the Philippines also, most of the graduate students and now become faculty members have been trained to do research, which has a recommendation page. Recommendation page are really policy recommendations. So these are like very specific policy recommendations after all. So because of this tradition, they carry it on, and some of them submit into academic journals with this type of, of section in their papers. And I think Marla is actually familiar with this. So that's the kind of question. And I think later on, when we have questions from the audience, they might also ask about these things. So putting recommendation, like specific policy recommendation, like I think there is like a confusion of what is really the academic and solution-based research. So they try to actually marry the two. So the paper reads like there are some conceptual things in there, but along the way there are very more policy, wordings on it, and then end it with a very specific policy recommendation. So maybe you can share your thoughts about that later on.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Like for example, for the Asian and Pacific Migration Journal, we don't really require that all the papers would have policy recommendations. It really depends on the research questions. No? Some research questions may, and also the findings of the study may have a lot of implications to address certain policy questions. So when that is apparent, then maybe policy recommendations are called for, but it's not necessarily the case that all papers, all journal articles should carry policy implications. I mean, we still make some distinctions between like exploratory research and then basic research, and if the starting point is really to address specific policy questions, then that would be that part of the conclusion would be necessary. But coming from a more research-oriented background, maybe it's not necessarily the case. Although it could, be it could flow from one to the other. So like some policy, some